You ever see the look on someone's face when they realize the whole neighborhood's watching their downfall? Phones out, Officer Foster, standing by. And a fence gate locked so tight you'd need the jaws of life to get it open. Let me tell you, that's not the kind of spotlight most people plan for. And yet that's how Colleen Ashby, 9-year Queen Bee of Meadowbrook Estates, HOA, found herself one Friday afternoon standing on my truck lot, blouse streaked with concrete dust and a scowl that could sand paint. She hadn't been invited. In fact, she'd snipped the padlock off my side gate with a pair of bolt cutters and strutted right in, convinced like always that her badge of community service let her walk all over my property rights. Maybe she thought I'd just let it slide like I'd done a dozen times before. But here's the thing, when you deal with folks who think power means permission, sometimes you've got to push back, not with fists, but with paperwork and patience. That day, the cameras caught everything. It started as just another morning for me polishing the chrome on my Peterbilt 1979 Deep Navy. Looked like something straight out of a trucking museum coffee cooling in my hand. 4 rigs sat in formation, sunlight gleaming off polished fenders behind an 8-foot steel fence keypad, locked security cameras rolling. These weren't just toys. I ran a custom woodworking business from my house and had spent years planning Rhodes Heritage Transport, a legit permitted legal collector delivery service. Every truck registered, insured, inspected, my paperwork so tight you could bounce a quarter off it. Colleen, of course, didn't see investment or craftsmanship. She saw a challenge to her rule. You want to know what petty looks like? Try 6 a.m., grass measurements, photos of trash cans out 5 minutes late, a stream of anonymous noise complaints, all from the same phone number. 18 months of it. At the last HOA meeting, she'd stood there in her cream blazer, 50-odd violations on the projector, treating us like kindergartners. When she pointed to a photo of my lot and said, "Commercial vehicles can't be parked overnight," I stood up with the bylaws on my tablet and pointed to the section personal screen permitted. She pursed her lips, promised to review the matter, which in Colleen speak meant I lost the argument, but you're not off the hook. Even my neighbor Holden, 3 doors down real estate lawyer, good guy, warned me she was gearing up for a fight. "You can follow every rule in the book, Fletcher," he said, but to her it's not about rules, it's about control. Document everything. And whatever you do, keep those cameras running. So I did. I logged every letter, every email, every drive-by with her snapping photos over the fence. That Friday, my phone buzzed, emergency job for a client up in Napa. I double-checked the lot, locked the trucks, armed the gate, and hit the road. Cameras caught me leaving at 9:52 a.m. What I didn't know as I drove north was Colleen had been watching my schedule. By 1:47 p.m., she rolled up in her silver Lexus, popped the trunk, and out came the bolt cutters. She slipped through the side gate lock in her bag and started a photo. Safari license plates, VINs, toolbox labels, anything to catch me in some imagined crime. What she didn't notice was the motion sensor over the exit or the digital display starting its 30-second countdown. She was halfway to my Kenworth phone up when the soft beep echoed off the concrete. That's when the panic set in. Colleen ran heels, clattering bags, swinging sweat, darkening her blouse, straight for the main gate. Too late. 10 seconds left. She yanked the bars, but the maglock held, and with a final pitiful beep, the lot sealed shut. She tried her phone, 1 bar, then none. My fence wasn't solid, but it sure killed cell reception. She circled the lot, waving her phone like a divining rod, tried pulling on the gate, checked the control box, but nothing budged. She even saw the emergency release button in the office cabin, bright red letters, but pride kept her from pushing it. Admitting she was trapped meant admitting she was wrong. That just wasn't in Colleen's playbook. I got the motion alert at 2:34 p.m., still 90 miles away. I checked the feed, and there she was, stuck, angry, baking in the sun, every step documented from 4 angles. I called Holden. He told me to get the police on the line and don't open the gate. Let the authorities see the whole story, he said. I did just that. reported a trespass in progress with video evidence, explained the security system, made sure everything was above board. When I finally pulled up to the house just after 4:30, the street looked like a parade route patrol car parked out front. Neighbors clustered at a safe distance. Holden waiting with his portfolio, Officer Foster, already talking to Colleen through the bars. I introduced myself, Fletcher Rhodes, the guy who just had his lock cut, and offered to show Officer Foster the footage. We watched it together, Colleen breaking in, snooping, triggering the lock. She watched without a word, then turned to me. "Do you want to press charges?" she asked. I glanced at Colleen, red-faced, sweaty, shaking with rage and humiliation, and for a split second I almost felt sorry for her. The neighbors' eyes were on me, some looking for drama, some for justice. Holden gave me a nod, but I held back. "Not yet," I said. "I want to assess the damage and consult my attorney, but I will file a formal complaint with the board." Officer Foster nodded, noted everything down, and asked if I'd open the gate. I punched in my code and stepped aside as Colleen stumbled out. Her composure shattered in front of half the neighborhood. "You planned this!" she shrieked. "You set a trap!" Officer Foster cut her off, calm but firm, and explained the law. HOA authority ends at the property line without written consent or a warrant. Holden backed her up, legal code in hand, and asked Colleen to show where she had authority. She couldn't. She just wilted, voice shaking as the realization sunk in. Officer Foster issued a trespass citation on the spot and told her she'd be getting a court date. Colleen grabbed the paper like it might bite her, shot daggers at me and the neighbors, and stormed off. That night, Meredith, my wife, and the real reason I keep my sanity, sat with me at the kitchen table, reviewing every frame of security footage, pointing out details I'd missed. She suggested getting a professional appraisal of the trucks and the lot, not just for insurance, but so the board and the courts would know exactly what Colleen had trespassed onto. By Saturday, a specialist walked my lot with a clipboard totaling the trucks and infrastructure at nearly $400,000. That kind of value changed the tone at the emergency HOA meeting. At the board session, I laid out every detail. 14 noise complaints, 9 public posts about illegal operations, 3 city inspections, 0 violations, and now a trespass charge backed up by more documentation than a tax audit. Colleen's attorney tried spinning it, claiming she'd acted in good faith. But Holden wasn't having it explain the limits of HOA power, the legality of my security system, and the definition of defamation under state law. One by one, neighbors spoke up stories about Colleen's overreach, fake violations, threats that never matched the rules. The board voted 4-0 to suspend her pending investigation, hired an independent attorney, and set in motion reforms that would change how Meadowbrook ran forever. The audit that followed was brutal. Dozens of fake violations, thousands in fines that shouldn't have been collected, HOA funds spent on personal legal bills, all traced back to one person's need to control. The reforms that came out of it were thorough notice, before inspections, citations required to have evidence, independent appeal panels, financial transparency, term limits, real lasting changes. And when the final vote came, the community spoke 63-6. Colleen was out, 7 new rules locked in. Colleen moved away. I bumped into her once, awkward as you'd imagine, in the hardware store parking lot. She asked if I thought the reforms would stick. I told her they will because people are paying attention now. She nodded. No fire left, just tired. In the months that followed, Meadowbrook changed. Notices made sense. Fines matched real violations. The appeal panel actually listened, ruled against the board when it was wrong. Property values went up, but more importantly, folks started trusting each other again. Barbecues were about burgers and kids and gossip, not who was in trouble with the HOA. My business finally launched, the trucks humming out on the road, and I slept easier knowing my rights weren't up for debate. I get emails now from people all over, folks fighting their own HOA wars, asking for advice. Some say I was too harsh. Some say not harsh enough. I tell them it's not about revenge, it's about reform. It's about documenting knowing your rights and pushing for systems that work for everyone, not just the loudest voice in the room. So yeah, sometimes justice is loud sirens shouting all eyes on the street. But mostly it's quiet, polished chrome in the sun, a gate that locks and unlocks when it's supposed to, neighbors waving as the streetlights come on. Ordinary life, unremarkable, peaceful, finally mine again. That's the win. And if you've ever faced an HOA nightmare or wondered if it's worth standing your ground, here's my 2 cents. Keep your paperwork tight, your cameras running, you're cool even when it's hard. Don't become what you're fighting. Reform outlasts revenge every single time. Now, what do you think? Should there always be a second chance for folks like Colleen, or is losing power the only lesson that sticks? Drop your thoughts below. And if you've got your own HOA story or a tip on how you handled a power trip neighbor, let's hear it, because in the end, we're all just trying to keep a little peace on our side of the fence.